So this is Jason Taylor from UsableNet. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at UsableNet. I've got the pleasure to be accompanied today with Joe Di-Nero from Helen Keller Services for the Blind. Joe, maybe you could just give me a quick introduction to yourself and the types of activities that you take over at Helen Keller.
Hey, Jason. So I'm an assistive technology specialist with Helen Keller Services for the Blind. So I do evaluation and instruction with adult clients and high school kids that are transitioning to college. And what we do is we provide instruction in different uses of computers and mobile devices with assistive technology, be it screen readers or low vision magnification solutions. And we're teaching adults to give them skills so that they can either get into the workforce or get back into the workforce if they have had some sort of sudden vision loss. And it's sort of the same thing for high school students transition to college, where we're giving them skills so that they can be successful in college, driving towards a vocational goal. And
very interesting, Joe. So, Joe, and also you're blind yourself. Maybe you could just give us a little bit of a background of how that came about and when that came about in terms of your blindness.
Okay. So I was diagnosed in 1994. I was working previously in the hotel industry for nearly 10 years, and I was diagnosed with a degenerative retinal disease called retinitis pigmentosa, which I was told at the time in 1994 that there was no cure, and nothing really promising as far as any sort of treatment. And sort of to this day, that's still the case. I started using a white cane in 2002. I started using assistive technology as far as magnification with ZoomText in 2005, and then probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I sort of migrated to JAWS. And now I'm a full-on screen reader user.
Okay. So the subject that we wanted to discuss with you today is we wanted to get your sort of practical input of how artificial intelligence and machine learning may be creeping into some solutions that you're starting to see and starting to use yourself. Maybe you could start with a broad one. What sort of services stand out in that space that you're sort of taking advantage of today and have changed the way that you might use digital technology?
Well, right off the top of the bat, and these are just mainstream solutions, but all the smart assistants. So you have Siri, the Amazon Echo devices. So I've been an iPhone user now for nearly 10 years. I think Siri was introduced, 7 years ago or something like that, 8 years ago. And, since it was introduced, I use that constantly. I can use it to text, I can use it to send email. I can use it to do a lot of things. My Amazon Echo device, obviously, you can do things that are, trivial, like playing music or some sort of digital content, but I have smart devices in my home as far as smart plugs and light bulbs, so I can control them through that device as well. So those are some mainstream AI solutions that I use.
And on let's say the more specific to your need as a blind user, are there some apps out there that are starting to use AI that's changing how you can do certain things?
Yes, one of the apps that I use, and one of the apps that I actually demonstrate, I do a lot of talks to just some of the groups that we run at Helen Keller, is an app made by Microsoft called Seeing AI. And it has multiple components to it. It has a document reader. It has a barcode scanner. It has an image reader where I can put my phone's camera up to somebody and it'll describe the person, or it will describe what's around me. As far as if I point it in a room, it'll describe what's in the room, whether it's a desk or a couch or a chair. And it has a lot of different facets to it. A money reader, and it's something that I use all the time, probably multiple times a week in my day-to-day things that I do.
That's very interesting. You talked a little bit earlier about how you're using Siri to maybe control your phone, and maybe also Echo to control certain things. Where does that sort of AI technology stop today, and then you still have to revert back, or the experience is then reliant on how accessible an app is? So, for example, if you wanted to check your bank records or your bank account on your phone, where does sort of Siri stop, and then where is the accessibility of that banking app important and not being controlled by artificial intelligence?
Well, currently, AI, Siri is very limited. The extent of what I can do right now is that I can open my banking app with Siri, but at the point that the app opens, I have to then revert to VoiceOver and use the screen reader to log in, to check my balance, or if I want to transfer money or make a payment, anything along those lines. That's all dependent upon assistive technology. I cannot utilize Siri at all for any of that stuff.
Okay, so today, really, from an experience perspective, when you're looking at using a website or using a native app, it's really important that the website and the native app have followed, popular guidelines like the WCAG, to make sure that your technology, which you talked about on the iPhone, will be VoiceOver, and I think you also talked about that you use JAWS on the computer, has the right code on that website or app to actually then allow you to understand what needs to be done and how to do those things. Would that be accurate?
Say that again?
I mean, that it would be accurate to say that the website and the app still needs to be coded.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
In the correct way.
Absolutely. I can't use the artificial intelligence at all for that. I'm fully dependent on the screen reader, so I'm dependent upon how accessible either the application is or the website.
Great. That leads me to another area of discussion around artificial intelligence and machine learning. We've also started to see now web accessibility vendors promote that they have solutions for web developers that will help get over some of these, accessibility problems that are inherent in some websites and apps. I wanted to first, before we dive into looking at some of the things that they say that can help an actual web developer do a better job of coding, I wanted to understand just generally from someone who uses a screen reader every day on a computer and VoiceOver on an iPhone, which types of sites do you find are generally okay to use, and which sites do you find that you have a harder time and find more struggles with in a general way? Is there a way to sort of categorize that?
Well, I think at times I find, so say an e-commerce site where there's a lot of functionality, if you're going through the process of making a purchase and checking out and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of functionality that happens there. So many times there's issues with the functionality of a form or one of the elements on the screen to interact with it. So there are challenges there. But even with websites with just general content, if they're not structured well, navigating to the desired content that you're looking for can be challenging as well. If there's not good heading structure and you have to kind of do a lot of extraneous navigation to find exactly what you're looking for, that's problematic. The other challenge sometimes too is you're going to websites that you've been to multiple times, and as a refresh on the layout of the page, and everything that you used to, now you're just sort of relearning, and there's maybe new challenges with a new website or a new layout of a website.